You are listening to the On Purpose podcast, your guide to living a more purposeful life. Welcome, On Purpose Community, episode 152. That's right, over 3 years straight of showing up every Thursday in your podcast inbox with the On Purpose podcast. We're excited this week. I have a new friend that I want to introduce you to, Gerrie Linek. Gerrie, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Awesome. I have you on the phone with me and we're able to sit down and have a good conversation. I'm going to learn all about who you are and Tum the Tortoise writing himself. I'm excited to hear these stories.
Thank you.
Now, is this your first podcast?
Yes, it is.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. First podcast and you're with the On Purpose community. So kind of what we do here, Gerrie, we don't like to jump into the real heavy conversation and the purposeful content yet. I want to kind of warm you up so that people get to learn who you are and get a good feel for you. You ready to get warmed up here, Gerrie?
Sure.
All right. Here's your first warm-up question. You're stranded on an island for the rest of your life with one food. What would Gerrie be eating?
Oh boy. Oh God. Can it have more than one thing in it?
It's your world, Gerrie. I just provide you the format.
All right. So since I've been a vegetarian for most of my life, I would probably have an organic ramen noodle bowl with lots of vegetables in it and tofu.
Gerrie, you just told me to make sure I pronounced your Italian maiden name Porcella properly, and now you're going to take ramen noodles on the island?
I ate it a lot in my youth.
All right. I guess. I thought for sure after the Porcella talk, I thought for sure you're going to tell me some kind of spaghetti, maybe a ravioli, something very heavy Italian, no?
No, I got to avoid the acidic foods.
That's true. All right, Gerrie, next question. You get a superpower. What superpower would you want and why do you want it?
Oh boy. I think I would just like to be able to look at people in the eye and they would have to speak the truth, whatever it may be, and not put on a false face.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one. And honestly, Gerrie, that's come up quite a few times with recent guests is people want to truly see what somebody else is thinking, even if they're reluctant to say it.
Right.
All right. Next warm-up question for you. You get to have dinner with one person. Either, the person could be from the past, present day. Who would you want to have dinner with and what do you want to learn from them?
Oh boy. You should have given me these questions.
No, that's why it's a warm-up, Gerrie. I can't have you prepped on this.
Oh God.
Anybody from history, from your present, your past life? Who would you have?
Well, you know what? I could think of a lot of people, but I think I would like to really be able to talk deeply with my parents.
Oh, yes.
I feel like we didn't really get to know each other deeply. And especially now I'm totally a different person than I was when I was annoying the heck out of them. So I would just like the mature Gerrie to be able to speak with her parents as a parent, parent to parent.
Sure.
Because I have learned so much since then, about what they went through and how hard it is being a parent. So yeah, I think I would do that.
That's a fantastic answer. And what would you apologize to him for any of your teenage years?
Oh, sure. You can't take your words back, but you can definitely say sorry.
Yeah. Oh, Gerrie, I love that one. All right. Final warm-up question for you. What is your favorite book and or what are you currently reading?
I should write these down. I've read a couple recently. Well, I'm kind of just starting to read, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but Brene Brown, on
Yep, vulnerability.
Yeah. Because I like to be, I like the way she's very open and honest, and I like to be more that way,
Sure.
to relate my struggles and feelings to people and have a safe group to do it with.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. What?
I
What?
love Edgar Allan Poe too. That's way back though.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good. That
I love
is
his.
definitely old back. What's your
I
favorite poem?
love probably The Raven.
That is a good one. Very cool. Are you feeling warmed up, Jerry? Didn't take you by too big a surprise there.
No, that it'll probably be easier because those were totally unexpected. I'm hoping it'll
Yeah.
get easier.
Yeah, we like to keep you on your toes. That's how we stay young, right?
Mhm.
All right, Jerry, talk to me about kind of give me an idea of who you are in the On Purpose community. Share with us a little bit about your story and what led you to being on our show with us.
Well, my book marketer or book launch person referred me to you after he guided my book launch, which was successful in terms of having it reach #1 in 6 categories for a short period of time. Whenever you have a new launch, I guess that happens. Um, so I where do you want me to start?
No, that's good. What? So you wrote a book, Tom
Yeah,
Tortoise Writes Himself.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I taught school. Let me just start by saying I'm a late bloomer. I do everything later than the norm. So, I was in and out of college, and I finally got my degree when I was 34, got my teaching credential when I was 35, taught for 21 years. No, then I had a family. So I
Nice.
had like 10 years off, and then I taught for 21 years. So you're talking to an old
Okay.
person here.
I love
Uh,
it. What did you
yeah,
teach?
I taught elementary school,
Okay.
mostly first and fourth, but a variety of grades.
Sure.
Yeah, but I always loved writing. I took a lot of writing courses. So I had it in the back of my mind to write a book someday, and I would always write things down on scraps of paper and save them, book ideas. And then I decided to retire a little bit early at age 63 because I kind of got tired of the way you know education was going in Common Core and all of that.
Sure.
So I checked out a little bit early and with the thought to write a book. And then 10 years later,
What?
I finally produced it. But what gave me the confidence to retire uh, and know that I could survive was that I got this quotation that I read, and it said, "Leap and the net will appear." And that just told me that you have to stick your neck out a little bit. You don't know if it's going to work or not, but if you don't take the risk, you won't get the reward. So that was kind of what pushed me to do it, even
Yeah.
though I had no idea how the publishing business worked or writing,
What was, Jerry, what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome to even taking that leap?
Well, I had to speak to a retirement counselor and see what kind of a pension I would get and if we could manage on that because we were still paying off our home.
Right.
And, because we still had a couple kids on our medical plan, I got a little shock when I retired that, it wasn't as much as I thought it would be. But we could manage because I could always get work as a substitute teacher.
Sure.
So I just kept going. I didn't want to go back full time.
Right.
So
What
yeah,
about the book
yeah,
specifically? Because so you said you had this book idea for quite a while before you took steps towards it.
yeah. And I don't. Um, so the inspiration for the book I mentioned it in my biography or my author bio. was I was taking classes at a local community college, and I was walking around the lake, and I saw this turtle or tortoise sliding down the hill towards the water, and he was just going so fast, and he just pulled his legs in and just slid on his plastron like a sled, and went, and I just tucked that into my brain, and I kind of thought, well, maybe he was just having fun, or maybe he couldn't stop himself. And that was kind of the basic theme of the book. And I liked turtles. And I don't know, it was just so I felt like animals can convey human situations in a non-threatening way, for kids, because when I started writing the book, my first draft was really preachy, because you want to get in all these character lessons and everything, and it's just too preachy.
Right.
They can get that somewhere else. You want to make it fun. My thought to write the book was, okay, that goes back to when I taught first grade. I had a lot of science books in my classroom, and the kids would love them. They would go to them, but they couldn't really read the words. They're kind of more
Yeah.
advanced, but they would look at the pictures and they would say, well, what does this say? What does this say? So I thought I would like to do a book that had a little bit of a science concept, just one thing, how tortoises write themselves. I would introduce a lot of first grade vocabulary. So when I finished the book, I actually looked at my first grade word list and found that I had used 75 of the 100 most frequently used words. So it was kind of by accident, but so I wanted one that they could read themselves, that they would know most of the words. And then I threw in a few kind of new words or larger words that they could ask their parents or their teacher what this mean. I wanted to have humor in it so that it wouldn't be threatening, that it would just be kind of fun, but hopefully on deeper readings, they would get more meaning out of it about, teamwork and confidence and, just being healthy, even,
Sure.
exercising and taking care of your body so that you can do things with your life. So I just kind of tried to get a lot of things in there. And I hope, I've heard from people, their reviews and things, that they got different things out of it. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Obviously, it's on the bestseller list, so it's clearly doing well. What personal limitations, fears, ideas did you have to deal with to make that transition? Not the retirement stuff, but to actually leap and put all your ideas into a book. What personally did you have to challenges did you overcome in that process?
Well, the first thing that I had to do was try to learn about the whole business. So because it happened during COVID, I just started, there's so many webinars and online courses, some free, some paid. I just decided to start, signing up for courses and learning how to do it. And through one course I took, I met a really nice lady. I don't know if I can mention companies or anything like
Say
that.
whatever you want. We're on a podcast. We can say whatever we want, Gerrie.
So anyway, I took a children's book mastery course with Karen Ferreira, and it was a 21-day kind of challenge. So we would write. I wasn't this book. She wanted me to use something new, not something I had been working on. But we went through and learned how a book is made, how they do the spreads, just every aspect of it. And each day we had a challenge, and it was a group thing. So we could, towards the end, we would critique each other's work. But I really got to know her and like her as a teacher. And so then later, so that gave me a little confidence, that I knew what the beginning and the end looked like of making a book. And then I just kept taking courses, and I knew that I was limited. My area was the writing of it, but I needed help. I needed an illustrator. I needed a marketer, all these things. So, I tried to budget all that in so that I could make it the best that it could be.
Yeah.
So the the illustration process was arduous. It was like a year long, and it's online through a company called Nifty. You communicate, you share all the different phases of the illustrations. You have to approve it, and they were in another time zone, so I was up at night a lot of the time, because that's when they came on. And
Yeah.
the biggest challenge I had was I didn't want to insult the illustrator if I didn't like a certain illustration, but I had that option to do it. And so
Sure.
I had a picture in my mind, and then I would say, oh, I don't want to criticize. So I would let certain things go and say, it's good enough. But then towards the end, after I should have, you don't go to the next level until you approve the previous one. But then I couldn't let it go. So I had to go back and say, okay, I want this changed.
Yeah.
And even right at the very end, I had the cover changed. I just wasn't happy with the cover, because that's the first thing you see, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to help you decide whether you want to open the book or not. So I had to pay a little extra for the last minute changes, but it was worth it to me, because I just wanted my vision to be as, come out as close as it could to
Yeah.
that in my head. But I really I like the illustrators kind of watercolor like drawings, and
Sure.
he had a lot of cute ideas that he put in there, and we were able to talk about them. And well, why did you one example is Tom had his buddies, and I was just thinking buddies is a bunch of guys, right? Guy turtles. And he drew a girl in there, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I like that,
Yeah.
because girls and boys can be friends. And yeah, so it's just like, it's really a collaboration, but you do have to speak up and say, compromise sometimes, and the other person compromises as well. So I hope to work with him again. His name is Marlon, and the company's Get Your Book Illustrations. So yeah, they have a stable of illustrators that you can, use for your book. So
Yeah, but I think that's an important point for our community out there. People are going to listen to you all over the world, Gerrie. So I hope that's good with you. But I think it's an important point is when you have a vision in life and you have a dream in life, it's okay to stand up for what you want that to look like and to be able to speak. In your case, it's a book, but for many other people, it may not be a book. It may be a lifestyle change or a career change or retirement like you did early. And we got to be comfortable having some of those more difficult conversations. And like you said, finding the common ground and meeting halfway, which is a great point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's always been my challenge of, having a lack of confidence or feeling intimidated by people. And I've actually admired people like Queen Latifah, people that they just ooze confidence. They can just say whatever they want. I don't know if they lie to themselves sometimes and just say, whatever they want, but they have such confidence. And I wonder, how do they get that confident,
I got to tell you, Jerry, that's the funniest thing I've heard. No, we have never had a Queen Latifah reference on the On Purpose podcast in 150 some episodes. So congratulations. You're the first one to bring up the Queen.
Well, I actually bought her book one time and read it, and she has had such an interesting life. But there are people like that
oh yeah
have confidence, but they're very positive about it. It's not like arrogant confidence that pushes you away. But there's something that I guess I saw a couple of her movies, and I just thought she was very interesting, and I just wanted to have more confidence, like that.
So talk to me about that. If you, because having written a book as well, like I tell you, I got the most nervous when I sent it off to the editor for fear of their judgment of it. If they were going to come back and be like, "This is the worst book we've ever seen," I was nervous on it. How did you handle so how did you go to get the confidence to actually submit all this out there and put it on the line where people could judge it and be very open about it? How'd you find that?
Well, first of all, I did belong to this group where they offer you, it was like a subscription for a year where each month you could submit something to a publisher. So, in hopes that they would like it and want to publish your book, but I only submitted one to one publishing company, and I got the nice little rejection letter, and I just decided I didn't want to keep going through that, so I actually self-published on Amazon. So I didn't have to get the rejection. I'm a decent writer, so I did many rounds of editing myself, and then I have two wonderful nieces, Chrissy and Elizabeth, that are good writers, and I would send them things and say, this just doesn't quite sound right. Do you have any suggestions? And so we had a few emails like that where they would give it a fresh look, because it's hard to see your own work after you've been staring at it for so long. You
Absolutely.
step back from it for a while, and I wanted some fresh eyes on it. But yeah, I really didn't want to do the traditional publisher route. I mean, I didn't want to go through all those rejection slips, I guess. So I just thought I would take a chance and do it myself, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, that worked out. I self-published as well because same thing. I just wanted control over it. What would you say the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in this process has been?
Oh, well, I can tell you, I don't know if you picked up on this, but Tom Tortoise writes himself as kind of semi-autobiographical.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling that for sure.
The little mantra that his mother gave him is something that got me through this whole process. And the mantra is believe in yourself, try very hard, never give up. And the main thing is never give up. So I had lots of highs and lows, just some tearing my hair out, crying kinds of experiences, issues with people close to me where I was really going through a dark valley, but I just had to put my focus on my book and just keep going. And that kind of got me through. So, when you write a book, I mean, your character kind of becomes a friend, or it kind of becomes your alter ego or whatever. I don't know how to express that, but
right.
Tom's success was my success, and my success was Tom's success.
Sure.
It just went hand in hand, and I felt like if I quit, I would disappoint him, like he was a real person, because I was ending his story. I wrote about that a little bit on my blurb on my website.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure a lot of authors feel that way, where you have to feel like your character is your friend, and you really know them kind of inside and out and what they would do. So yeah, and I wanted to turn it into a series, but I didn't want to write a series on the first book because it put too much pressure on me to just come up with a new idea, and I wanted to wait till the inspiration came, because I do work a lot on inspiration.
Yes. I love that you said it kind of became an autobiography. So
Yeah.
there's stories in there that mirror obstacles and valleys you had in your life. Yeah.
Right. Well, things kind of lent themselves. Like I did put this on one of my blurbs, was when I was probably 10, 11, 12. We lived on a hill, and I was skating, and I never learned how to brake when you're skating. I know you're supposed to turn your toes in or out or something. And I was headed downhill towards a busy street, and I was panicking, and
Yes.
I was going faster and faster, and I couldn't stop. And all I could think of was just to sit down on my bottom, and it actually ripped the pockets on the back of my jeans. They didn't come completely off, but they were ripped. And it was just like I had to think quick. So that kind of got in the story a little bit, but Tom turned it into a good thing. He had fun with it, and he just went, and he was headed towards the water, which was based on my story of my walk around the lake. And he but he just had fun with it, and he just said, "Wee," and he landed. But I knew most turtles or tortoises can't swim, but I had read about some that could float or just swim short distances. So I just decided to put that in there, that he could float. And actually, I can't swim either, but I do know how to float on my back in an emergency. So, there are little things that just based on your life or your experience, you can kind of weave in and out. And it kind of feels good to be able to say, well, maybe that happened for a reason, so I can work it into my story,
Absolutely.
It was funny.
And,
Anyway.
and I love that you said something earlier, and I think this is important for our community to hear, is sometimes we have dreams and we have goals and we keep them to ourselves, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't tell my wife, I don't tell
Uh-huh.
you, I don't tell others. And then
Uh-huh.
a lot of times I do that because I can let myself off the hook. Like if nobody knows, then that I'm supposed to be writing
Right.
this book that I promised that I don't have to. But you actually used Tum the tortoise to hold you accountable.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, and I didn't talk to my family a lot about what I was doing. I mentioned it, but yeah, I think only my two nieces also really would, ask me about how it was going and things. So yeah, because everybody was on lockdown, right? It was a unique time, so we didn't really visit anybody.
but I liked how you said, Gerrie, that if you quit because you got discouraged or the process became too hard or you got nervous and you just didn't do it, you would be
Mhm.
letting Tum down.
Exactly, and I would be letting myself down, of course, but maybe I didn't think, well, maybe for me, I thought, well, I can just do something else, but I didn't want to let my character down, because then his story wouldn't unfold, because
Yeah.
I think it could unfold and go in a lot of different directions. And
That's
just the little thing, for example, I heard from my my nephew's wife. She reads the story with her son, and she said every time they get to that page with the we, he just starts laughing and laughing, and he loves that page so much. So just little things like that, even that alone would be so satisfying for the whole book, just to have made one child, really laugh and find enjoyment from the story. It's just little things, if you can uh, touch people's lives in a positive way.
absolutely.
For me, it's not really about the money or becoming a best-selling author. Not that I wouldn't want that, but it's just like to be able to touch kids' hearts and make them think about things and choices that they make and what they can do with their life. And I hope, having started so late for me, that I hope that people can realize you. And I also mentioned this in my second little blurb I put on my website, was just that it doesn't matter how old you are. Even you can start as a child. I've read of kids doing amazing things and inventions at a very young age, or you can start when you're 70, or look at Grandma Moses. I mean, people shouldn't put limitations on age. The limitation comes from our own mind
So
and our own
what would
fears.
you say? What are a couple things you would tell our community if they're, maybe older than average or younger than average and they have a big dream? What are a couple tips you'd give them to get them moving towards fulfilling that dream?
Well, it's just, again, it's that mantra: believe in yourself, try very hard, and never give up. You may hit a roadblock. You may stop and rest for a while along the road, but keep that goal in mind. And I had many obstacles that popped up, and I was rejected for certain things, and I just had to keep going and just tell myself, well, there's something better ahead, and just because I think a lot of people, I don't think it's just me, have self-esteem issues, that they're not good enough, or who would want to hear this, or um, but you just have to do it, and let the chips fall where they may. even if you reach one person or two people, you should just do it. It's very satisfying to have a vision and then to be able to realize it and see it,
And what would you say you had listened to all the doubts and the fears or lack of confidence and you wouldn't
Mhm,
have produced this book, even though you had been dreaming about it for 20 years or so, you said. What do you
mhm.
think would be missing in your life now if you hadn't pursued your dream?
Well, for me, I feel like, well, everybody wants their legacy, right? So your legacy is your children, your grandchildren, whatever you produced in your life. There's something about a book. I mean, there's something about my having to send a copy of it to the Library of Congress that it's something I've left behind, that somebody 100 years from now might read, or I don't know. It's in a way, it's kind of like this sounds arrogant. I don't mean it that way, but it's kind of like you become immortal
I love it.
because you left something of yourself behind. Of course, you leave yourself behind through your family and your descendants, but it's a different thing that you're leaving behind. It's like
Yeah.
it's something that I guess your children, they come from your body. They're descendants of you, but your book comes from your mind and your creativity.
Yeah.
So it's something else you've created on a different level.
Yeah.
And
And that's not arrogant at all. I mean, that's absolutely true, right? Like your book can reach people in places and circumstances in life that you physically can't be there. You couldn't get there and
yeah,
talk to them, but you can talk to them through Tum the Tortoise.
yeah. And I haven't gotten my my royalties yet, but I look on Amazon and I see that it's sold. I sold one in Australia. I sold some in India, and I think Japan and Canada. It's interesting, that um, I have some complaints about Amazon, but I think what they're doing for young, or not young, but new authors, self-published authors, is really a great gift. And yeah, I
Yeah.
recommend anybody, even you can publish anything on Amazon. You can go to great expense or publish for very little. But if anyone's interested in getting something out there that they've been thinking about, they should really look into it.
Yeah. Like you said, it's something that lives beyond you. Well, I think, Jerry, first of all, I want to say you're extremely humble, which is a great commodity to have in today's world. But I also don't want you to think this is only a kid's book. As I looked through it in preparation for our
Uh-huh.
episode and in talking to you,
Mhm.
adults can learn just as much from these lessons as children.
Right. Yeah. I had that in mind, just to throw a few little jokes in there that adults would get.
Yeah,
Just
that's
or just sayings, rock and roll, or just something so they could have a little chuckle too. Yeah.
yeah, it's fantastic because anytime, here's what I love about life is anytime one person takes a risk or takes a leap and believes in themselves and moves forward, it can encourage 4 or 5 others who are watching to do the same thing.
That's my biggest hope that could come from this session is, right after the book was published, I turned 75. So that's not, a lot of people think, well, you're, 1 foot in the grave and you can't do anything. But, that's one of the last frontiers that I think we need to conquer, is just this idea that that a number is going to limit what you can do.
Sure.
You have to try to stay healthy and alive, but you can keep going. You don't, you should enjoy your retirement. You should have fun and travel and do all those things, but at the same time, I think if you have some unfulfilled dream, you should go for it and don't think, oh, I can't, it's too late. Never think that.
Right. Imagine this, Jerry. If you hadn't brought Tom the Tortoise to life and you passed away, idea would have went with you.
Yeah. Well, part of my inspiration too, my grandmother, my mother's mother, I believe she wanted to write some books about California history, because her grandfather crossed the plains during the gold rush and they settled in California. So she had a lot of knowledge and information. And I thought, when she passed away, that was something that she had wanted to do. I don't know the details around it. And my mom was just loved to read as well. And she was also a teacher for 10 years. It was just something kind of in my blood. I think maybe they were kind of pushing me from beyond, come on, do it. You could do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just something I've always wanted to do.
Well, congratulations to you for getting it done and getting it out there on Amazon, where you're on the best-selling list. And
well, I'm not really at the top. I'm on the list. Let's put it that way. But
on the list is better than somebody that didn't write a book and never even got it out there, right?
Yeah.
We'll take on the list. All right, Gerrie, as we wrap up this episode, give me a couple short little nuggets that Tom the tortoise would share with our audience if they're struggling today in their life. What would he tell them?
Well, he could have just I thought about this. His mom could have just told him how to flip himself over, but she didn't. She let him figure it out. So part of the struggle is in trying to figure it out for yourself. I mean, I wasn't saying you should never ask for help, but I think what I was trying to say to kids is that you have a lot more knowledge and ability to solve problems yourself if you just, think about it. And so Tom would say, you have to be consistent. You have to not give up, because his exercises to strengthen his neck and his legs, so that he had the strength to push himself right side up again. That was something he had to commit to. I know any adult is going to resonate with this that is dealing with weight loss, is the exercise, just to be consistent. And that was part of my story too, is just to try to get healthier and stronger. So be consistent, and you will see results. You may have to stop once in a while, catch your breath, but then go back at it, and you will see results. You will get stronger. You will, Tom's story was he got stronger on the outside, but at the same time he built more confidence on the inside, because he did accomplish, what he set out to do. I don't know if I answered your question.
No. So
don't give up.
Don't
keep
give
trying.
up. Yeah. Keep trying. Don't give up. Now, I love the other one you said on the website is, whatever your age, is never too early.
Yes.
Or too late to begin. Right.
And I meant the too early because I have been reading stories about kids that just have these great ideas, and they go and start their own business even. And it's just amazing to me. And I think, God, I could never have done that when I was their age. They just had good support around them. And I was just reading about this girl in England who is writing her own books, and she's a bestseller, I guess. But she has great support from her parents and her big sister, who's also a writer. But she really encourages kids to write their stories. She's just a very gosh, I don't have her name in front of me, but she's on Amazon. But she has just an excellent attitude about that anybody can do it, at any age. And she even put pages in her book with lines for the kids to start writing their own story at the end of the book. Just amazing creativity.
Yeah, I love it. So whatever your age, it is never too early or too late to begin. Gerrie, thank you so much for joining the On Purpose podcast this week.
Thank you so much. I love your channel. I've started to listen to your your podcast. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. And where can our audience connect with you at, Gerrie? Where would you like them to go? To your website? Would you like social media? Obviously, they need to go over to Amazon and get a copy of Tum the Tortoise Writes Himself. Where else can they stay in touch with you?
Well, I think the best way is to just go to my website, gerrieporcellalinek.com. And I do have a link on there to Amazon. And I have, if you're a teacher, a parent, a homeschool teacher, I have a page of resources that I'm going to be adding more to, but I have activities that go with the book that are downloadable. Just positive support. I'm going to have more of my short writing pieces up on my, I have it's like a blog page. It's called Inspirations. And I plan to have more. It's a fairly new website, so I'm still adding to it, but I hope.
Look at you.
This is my website. Yes.
I love it. Out there making websites, writing books, and no matter what age you are, it's never too early or too late to begin. Thanks so much, Gerrie. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Jerrod. Thank you so much. God bless.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.